Good morning, vinyl community. It is Glen Kellaway coming to you from the basement. It is Wednesday morning in Trenton, Ontario. Rainy day today. We're getting into fall weather, it seems, kind of early. Um, what can you do? I kind of like the fall anyway, and football season starts tomorrow night. Wow, pretty exciting. Um, this is the second episode in my series, My Teenage Years, 1966 to 1972. I am doing 1967 today, a year that really my whole life just exploded in 1967 for many different reasons. I turned 14, and wow, musically, everything just happened, but we'll discuss that as we go on. This is one of the incredible years of music, just mind blowing. How about starting the year off with this debut? Released in January 1967, The Doors. Wow. Come on, man. I think everybody loves this album. Uh, Boy, when I heard the end, that just freaked me out. What a great song and what a great album. Light My Fire, the long album version versus that edited single edit was just a great start to the year and an amazing debut album, one of the best debut albums ever. 66 ended. I told you I was monkeys mad, and 66 ended with I'm a Believer at number one. Well, right after that, the Monkees are on tour. Then they released this album, More of the Monkees. You know, they released this album without the Monkees knowing anything about it. They were on tour and sent someone to a record store to buy it so they could hear it. Isn't that just shows how under control they were, and that no wonder a few months later Mike Nesmith was putting his fist through a wall and saying, no more, we're going to be in control of our music. Um, but it's a great album. Stepping Stone's on here, I'm a Believer's on here. uh, Mary Mary, which was written by Mike Nesmith. um, yeah, terrific record. More of the Monkees. February, I'm starting to blow my mind now. I'm a huge lover of the San Francisco scene and all that 60s summer of love stuff. And this is what kickstarted it. Released early in 67. Surrealistic Pillow. Oh man, when I heard this album, it's changed everything for me. It's a really important album for me. Um, and for that whole San Francisco scene. These guys were the first ones really to break out and become a national phenomenon out of all those bands. Um, yeah, just an amazing record. Somebody to Love is on here, and White Rabbit is on here. Two big hits for them, and a great instrumental from one of the great guitar players, Jorma Kaukonen. Embryonic Journey. If you haven't heard that acoustic uh, instrumental, you should check it out. Great record. Okay, March. Pretty quiet month for music. I couldn't find anything that I bought. Now, while I'm doing this, there's a ton of albums that were released, and I'm ignoring a lot of them, but I'm only ignoring them because they're not the ones that I gravitated to. So I'm not mentioning every record that came out in 1967. So if you're thinking, hey, you never mentioned this or that, it's because this is my teenage years. Your teenage years, you can mention it. Okay, but in April, I went to see my first concert. This was my first arena concert. Um, I should say, well, one of the first things I saw live, I'll mention now, I'm jumping ahead a bit, was after I graduated public school in June of 67. My cousin, who was a year older than me, and him and I were like joined at the hip, especially when it come to music. He was starting high school a year ahead of me, and so he had just finished his first year, And at the end of every year, they had a variety show for anybody who went to the school, got up and entertained. And he took me. And fortunately for us, one of the great bands that came out of Canada in the 60s and one of Toronto's greatest bands ever was the Ugly Ducklings. They were considered Canada's Rolling Stones. So we went to the variety show, and a couple of these guys grew up in my neighborhood, and they went to my high school, and they played at the variety show, and they were incredible, man. Like, that blew my mind. I can't believe I still remember this so vividly. That was kind of the first real highlight of live music that I have in my life, me personally going to see something. The Ugly Ducklings. This is a great album. If anybody likes early Stones or 60s stuff, look up this album. It's just been reissued. The Ugly Ducklings, Somewhere Outside. So, sorry for jumping ahead there. But yeah, I went to see the Monkees at Maple Leaf Gardens April 2nd, 1967. So, just a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of pandemonium, and they came out, and I remember them doing Last Train to Clarksville, and then they do this thing where they all came out individually and did songs, and it was just it was a pretty cool thing for a guy who's just short of his 14th birthday. In May, they follow that up with this album, Headquarters. This is the year of the Monkees, really. It's the summer of love, but these guys were selling tens of millions of albums. Monkees Headquarters. I love this album. This is the kind of the first album where they actually did a lot of the stuff themselves. So, in June, okay, this is probably the pivotal year of my musical life. I graduate public school. 2 weeks later, I'm down in the park behind the high school I will be attending in September, and I'm with a buddy, and we're sitting down there, and there was this little area where I don't know if it was campfires or something, but there was a little area where they had a little wooden thing. It was like where they keep firewood or something in there, and there was these guys sitting in it, and they had long hair, and they were probably 2 or 3 years old. They're probably 16, and I'm 13. I'm 14, and they looked like they were 25, and they were smoking pot, and they invited us in to have a toke. So that was my first my first joint. Now I'm getting high with these guys. We're having a great time, and I look over, and all my public school teachers were having a little get together for, I guess, the end of summer, about 30 yards over from us. And I'm sitting there going, I just graduated from this school, and all these teachers that I've had for 8 years, and I'm sitting there smoking joints with all these guys who were a couple of years older with me, and all the teachers are sitting over there. It was just a weird experience. I'll never forget that. So, June, this is when everything went nuts. It did. It went nuts. Sgt Pepper, my favorite album of all time. A lot of people now look back and they go, it's overrated and everything. This album was not overrated. It's not overrated. It certainly wasn't overrated in 1967, I'll tell you that. It was everywhere. Everywhere. Amazing, amazing record. I don't even have to talk about it. Everybody knows this record. That comes out early June 1967 and blows everyone's freaking mind. Then the Beatles appear on the first satellite TV feed. It was called Our World, broadcast all around the world, and every country was represented by some kind of talent. And the Beatles represented Great Britain, performing All You Need Is Love. I think any Beatles fan has seen that performance. So I'm sitting at my family cottage the day this is on, and I know what's going to be on. And we don't have a TV, and I'm bummed. And I had to knock on the people across the road. They had a TV antenna, so I know they can get this. So I go knock on their door and tell them, I'm a big Beatles fan. please let me sit and watch your TV for an hour while I see the Beatles on Our World. They let me in to do it. I mean, we kind of knew these people. It wasn't like they were perfect strangers. But yeah, and then watched this in black and white. But hey, I got to see it live. So all you need is love. Amazing. Oh, what else came out? How about the Stones? You know, they're always around. Flowers was released in June 1967. Amazing record. Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby? Standing in the Shadows is on here. Let's Spend the Night Together. Ruby Tuesday. Lady Jane. Mother's Little Helper. This is a hits record. For sure. Flowers, one of the great Stones albums. July, pretty quiet. I think everybody took the summer off. There was nothing musically that I got anyway. And I think after June, we all needed a month to recover. I'm telling you, nuts. Oh yeah, I should mention in June, because I'm a big hockey fan. Toronto Maple Leafs all my life. They won their last cup in the early summer 1967. I don't know if it was late May, early June was the last game. Last Stanley Cup they've ever won. Never won a championship since. 54 years later, we're still waiting. But that was a big moment too. August. This year just continues to get better and better. Now it's getting really mind-blowing, and my musical head is just blown right off my neck. Pink Floyd, Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Was this ever different and ever cool? Wow. You gotta remember, in 1967, there was no internet. There was no... Rolling Stone had a magazine, is maybe, I don't know if it started yet by this time. There was just, like, I mean, I don't know, I can't remember how we ever got news of new records coming out unless we went to the record store every day, which I did. Sam the Record Man in Toronto, I just about lived there. You would go and see the new releases up the front, and just look and look and look and just be on top of it. That's really the way you found out about these records, and from your friends who were doing the same. Pink Floyd, Piper at the Gates of Dawn, another amazing debut with Syd Barrett. Talk about mind-blowing. This was off the charts. Okay, here's another album that came out that was really fun. Love these guys. They did a cover of the Supremes' You Keep Me Hanging On. The Vanilla Fudge. Heavy organ and keyboards, B3 organ, vocals, guitar, really heavy. They did a lot of covers. This album, Ticket to Ride, People Get Ready, She's Not There, Bang Bang, the Sonny and Cher song. You Keep Me Hanging On, which was a Supreme song. Eleanor Rigby, they did a version of that too. Carmen Apiece was in this band. Yeah, amazing. Vanilla Fudge, great cover. Love that. On the Atco label. What was next after that? Okay, here we go. Yeah, Jimmy. Should mention Monterey Pop in June of 67. Wow, Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? Man, this changed everything for guitar. That was it. The master has come on the scene. This album was just nuts. Now the Canadian version, or North American version, didn't have Red House on it. That was in the UK, so we hadn't heard that yet. But yeah, I mean, Purple Haze, Hey Joe. So, I should mention, when I was in grade 9, started in September, I was in class with this guy, Steve Pilling. I still remember his name because his brother Ed was a lead singer in a band called Flood, which he wrote a song called Cousin Mary, which is in the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. Ed is a great guy. He actually played at my wedding in a band, and so anyway, Ed and his brother Brian went to England in 65, 66, and ended up befriending quite a few people who were unknown then. Robert Plant. They played behind Cat Stevens, who was unknown then. And when they were over there, Hey Joe was released. They brought the 45 home and gave it to Steve. Steve brought it into class one day, and our homeroom teacher allowed him to we've got a little phonograph player, and Steve played Hey Joe for us pretty early on. So that was a pretty cool experience too. Okay, a couple albums that I don't have copies of the show. Blowing Your Mind, Van Morrison. Brown Eyed Girl was one of the great pop songs ever written. And that also had like TP sheets on it, and He Ain't Give You None. What a cool record, Blowing Your Mind. And Alice's Restaurant was all over the place. The great Arlo Guthrie. Amazing song. This album came out, The Animals. We were used to House of the Rising Sun and all that stuff. They were greatly affected by Monterey and where they were, and Eric Burdon was totally impacted by that San Francisco scene, visiting Haight-Ashbury and that. They came out with this album, Winds of Change, which I absolutely loved. The song Winds of Change, and they did a great version of Paint It Black. The Black Plague was just and the bell tolls. It's just a really dramatic song, and they came out with that song San Francisco Nights. But this is a great Animals album. I love it. Totally different from their original albums. Okay, that was September. So October, it's Halloween. November, some good ones. The Monkees, again, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Corn and Jones. This was their last really good album, I think. Birds and the Bees and the Monkees is okay, but not nearly as good as that. Another mind-blowing album that came out, Cream, Disraeli Gears. Incredible. I'm going to sneeze, so I'm going to go off camera. Excuse me. It's allergy season. Cream, Disraeli Gears. That's my favorite album cover of all time. I just love it. But what a great album. I mean, Sunshine of Your Love and Tales of Brave Ulysses, and just, another, like, you gotta understand, you're going from 1966. I mean, Revolver kind of gave you an indication of where things were going, I think. But, I mean, everything just exploded in 1967. It's crazy. Another Jefferson Airplane album that followed Surrealistic Pillow and was just, it's out there, man. But I love it. After Bathing at Baxter's. Great cover. And, this was so different from Surrealistic Pillow, and still is so different from Surrealistic Pillow. Might be a bit of a grower for some people, but if you're into the Airplane, it's a phenomenal record. To end the year, the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. I know they showed it, I think, on Christmas Day or something in Britain, the hour-long TV special. The album came out. I got this for Christmas. I believe it was released in late November. I got it for Christmas, and I remember Christmas Day phoning my friends and saying, look what was under my tree. They came over to my place on Christmas Day. We all listened to Magical Mystery Tour together for the first time. Incredible. It's just incredible. I love this album. I still love it. Side one with all the songs from the show. and I Am the Walrus. I mean, come on. And then side two had uh, the hits of Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man, All You Need Is Love. What a way to end 1967. Now, what I failed to do is go through kind of the hit singles that really appealed to me in 1967. So I'm going to go back and go through them. There's not, So in January, like I said, the end of last year was I'm a Believer, ended 66 as number one. It kick-started 1967 as a number one song. February, there was really nothing that I was too keen on. March, Ruby Tuesday and Penny Lane were both number one songs. April, Happy Together by the Turtles. I mean, what a classic song. And Something Stupid by Frank Sinatra and Nancy Sinatra was a number one song. The great thing about music back then on top 40 radio is it wasn't formatted. So you would hear a Frank Sinatra song, then you'd hear a Beatles song. It was great. It gave us a chance to experience all kinds of different genres of music, and which is something I think is sadly lacking today. Everything is so formatted. May, Young Rascals, Groovin'. What a great band. If you don't have any Rascals albums in your collection, I would strongly advise, because these guys just weren't a singles band. Their albums are all strong. Really good. June, Aretha, Respect, Otis Redding's song. Wow. August, Light My Fire was like a number one. Uh, and All You Need Is Love was number one still after June. September, Ode to Billy Joe, Bobby Gentry. Bobby Gentry's really experiencing quite a revival. Her albums are really getting a lot of attention, especially in the VC. I do have this Ode to Billy Joe album. It's great. I never paid any attention to her albums until the last year or two. I thought she was just like a country artist or something, but no, she's like from the Delta. She's down and dirty, man. Really good. October, The Letter, The Box Tops. November, great movie, To Sir with Love, and the title song by Lulu. That was all over the radio. And again, the Monkees just kind of went, hey, we're not done yet. Daydream Believer. Again, one of the great songs of the 60s, as far as I'm concerned. And the year ends number one with Hello Goodbye. The Beatles said, hey, Monkees, you're not taking over. We're back. Hello Goodbye. That ends the year in December. So I'm going to be back with 1968, which for me was the year of concerts and other great music and a lot of experimentation and again a real pivotal year. I hope you're enjoying the series. It's nice to reminisce and check out all these great albums again. I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe, and everyone have a wonderful day. Peace out.